Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in today's video I'll be doing my review of Vengeance Day 2025. So the night started off with Stephanie Vaquer defeating Fallon Henley to become the new Women's North American Champion and the first champion in WWE history to be from South America, which is really cool. Yeah, Henley controlled the match for the most part. I thought it was a lot more sided towards Henley than I expected. I kind of expected it to be the opposite way, where Stephanie would kind of have more control of the match and show off like her mental ability she has in the ring. It's just really good to see. But yeah, like we saw this throughout the match because I've written on my notes, like Stephanie Vaquer has such a fluid motion between moves, and we saw that when she did a 619 and then she did something else and it led into kind of what was the finish. And yeah, it just was really smooth transitioning between all the moves, and it was really cool to see. To be fair, I think my only gripe with this match is that these two really didn't have the best chemistry, but I don't know whether that was a case of maybe Stephanie isn't the most fluent in English yet, therefore, it's harder for them to talk during the match, but that's just almost like just making an excuse up. I don't know that for sure. But yeah, just something didn't seem quite right about the chemistry, but sometimes that happens and it is just what it is when it comes to wrestling. But yeah, the second half of the match, it kind of evened out a bit more, but Stephanie was doing a lot more impactful moves, which then, led to her winning the match and getting the title. But yeah, I thought that the spinal tap as the finish, I thought was really cool. I assumed she was going to do the butterfly wing backbreaker to finish, and she didn't. She went with something else, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a solid match. The right winner won, in my opinion. I feel like this would make for a good match for Stand and Deliver, for whoever she faces at Stand and Deliver. I'd probably have it be Jada Parker myself. I feel like Jada Parker is so over right now, and she's more of a heel than she's babyface. I feel like the dynamic between Jada and Stephanie would work really well. But yeah, so it was a decent way to start off the show. Big babyface win, new champion to start off the show. I thought it was a really, really good way to start. Following that, we had Fraxiom, Nathan Fraser and Axiom defeat Josh Briggs and Yoiki Inamura. I'm really bad at doing these Japanese names, so forgive me for that. But yeah, they retained the tag team championships. It was a high-paced match, even for the size of the opponents for Briggs and Inamura. Yeah, for me, every time I see Josh Briggs wrestle, I feel like he has so much potential as kind of a bigger guy, and they don't really use him in that case. It became very aware to me this week that they split up Henley, Briggs and Jensen only to have them join other groups. So Jensen's with Sean Spears' group, Briggs is in a tag team here, and Fallon Henley's in Fatal Influence. So I don't really get why they split them up if they were just going to end up in other groups, with arguably Fallon Henley being the most successful of the three of them. But yeah, for me, I feel like even since Stand and Deliver last year, where Briggs had that fantastic triple threat match with Femi and Dijak, the potential's there for Josh Briggs, but no one seems to be investing in him, which I don't really get. But yeah, I'd say the match result itself was not surprising at all. It's Fraxiom, they retain all the time. But yeah, for me, it made sense to have them go in as champions as far as Stand and Deliver go. So yeah, for me, and then we had the new group attack them afterwards. They took the Roman Reigns motive of wreck everyone and leave, and then that's exactly what they did. They just left immediately. And yeah, we'd see them later on. I'll talk about it maybe a little bit more. But yeah, so the match itself was solid. I think it was a decent match for the most part. It was a very high octane match for two bigger guys. But yeah, I don't think there was any doubt that Fraxiom were going to get the win here. Following that, we had the strap match where Eddie Thorpe defeated Trick Williams in what was a very surprising result, in my opinion. The match itself was really good. Thorpe controlled for the first part of the match, and it kind of evened out in the second half, but he took full kind of advantage of the strap. He was very tactical aware with it, tying Trick around the post, using it every available time you could use it. He was using it really well. And yeah, it kind of, though I expected Trick to kind of overcome the heel and get the win, Thorpe controlled the match for the most part, used the weapon well, and got the win. It kind of worked out in a way that wrestling kind of should do sometimes, where the person who is on top the whole time wins. But yeah, very surprising. Like, Trick got some licks in, but they weren't really going. He never really got into the match, in my opinion, which was a shame to see, because Trick's had a lot better matches, like especially like when he was building up to the NXT Championship. So yeah, it was kind of like, it felt like a step back for Trick, but I can't see his momentum going anywhere because of this loss. Like I said, the result was very surprising. I would have put my house on Trick, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. HBK just seemed to have a lot of investment in Eddie Thorpe. And yeah, I can see that resulting in a championship match and maybe in a championship win at Stand and Deliver. But I don't think it'll be the NXT Championship. It wouldn't surprise me if he started going towards the North American Championship. And I know that like they've only recently started a feud between Spears and D'Angelo. I can see that kind of culminating at Roadblock, and then Eddie Thorpe targets Tony D'Angelo after Roadblock, if that makes sense. But yes, the match was one of the better ones on the card. And yeah, Eddie Thorpe getting the win was very shocking in my opinion. Following that, we had Ethan Page defeat Dijon Evans. Yeah, the match was, again, a decent match. It wasn't really a bad match. It was just kind of there. It was kind of middle of the card. It was fine. Dijon Evans peaked way too early. I kind of felt it watching it that like Dijon Evans was getting way too much in way too early. Ethan was on the back foot for the main part of the match. But it kind of felt like as soon as Ethan kind of gets that shot in, it'll completely turn the tide and he'll probably get the win. And that was exactly the case. As soon as Page knocked Dijon Evans' gum shield out, that was it. It felt like the match was absolutely done, and I couldn't see the match going any other way. Also, the case that Dijon Evans stamped on Page's jaw, which again kind of gave the indication that the babyface does the thing the heel did, and the heel will end up stealing the win. And yeah, that was very much the case. For me, Ethan Page is like one of the best all-round heels in NXT. Like, he can wrestle really well. He's really good at promos, and also like the way he like has the, I don't want to say chemistry in matches, but there's just the way he works his matches works really well as a heel, and his facial expressions throughout the match as well. Like, just everything about him screams main roster, and I honestly can't wait to see him go up there, because I feel like he's going to have some great interactions with pretty much everyone. But like, to see him interact with John Cena would be really cool. Like people like The Miz and LA Knight, I feel like he'd fit right in with them as well. But yeah, I do expect a rematch to come from this match. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened at Stand and Deliver in some kind of stipulation match, and then you kind of get that big babyface win for Dijon Evans, and then they move on after that, I assume. But yes, it was a decent match for the most part. But yeah, I was glad to see Ethan Page win, because it kind of adds to that story a lot more. Following that, we had Femi successfully retain the NXT Championship against A-Town Down Under in a triple threat match. Obviously, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. But yeah, Oba was more prevalent in this match than I expected him to be, especially in the beginning. I assumed they were going to do the typical thing of a tag team in a triple threat match, takes out the bigger guy, and then kind of turn on each other eventually. And that really wasn't the case at all. Like, Theory and Waller barely imploded during the match. There was moments where they kind of stopped each other from getting pins, or they'd look at each other a certain way, and they didn't really have any interaction physically, really, during the match. There was a little bit, but not like to a point where, like, you know, the example I feel I saw Grayson Waller use was the Cena, Michaels, and Triple H match, and also the Undertaker, Jericho, and Big Show match from that same Survivor Series. It wasn't quite the same way as that. But yeah, so they had a few miscommunications, but that was really it as far as like Waller versus Theory goes. I know a lot of people were expecting a Theory face turn here. I wasn't. I just fully, it kind of went how I expected it to go, really. But yeah, Oba winning was like never a doubt for me. He looked great during the match, and yeah, for me it's just like it was a solid first pay-per-view defense for Femi, but it didn't really make much sense going into it anyway, like I said in my predictions. And it's a shame that they kind of gave his first pay-per-view defense to two people on the main roster instead of giving it to people in NXT. But maybe that's by design, because they want to save that for Roadblock or for Stand and Deliver. And then, yeah, after the match, we had this new group. Like, I haven't heard anything about a name or anything. So, they kind of attacked Oba again. They're very Shield and Nexus-like. If you combine the two, that's kind of how it went. They did the powerbomb as well. And then, yeah, they left immediately. Like, I was very thinking, because I kind of expected with them attacking Oba to get like the win over, not the win over them, but like to get the advantage over them. So it's kind of good that they took him out, but I'm not sure where that leads to as far as like in the future, unless they're just trying to make a statement, which makes perfect sense. But yeah, so for me, Waller in theory, kind of taking the pin doesn't really hurt them at all. They kind of been losing, not a fair bit, but they do lose every so often, and it doesn't really hurt their momentum at all, so that's good. And yeah, Obi gets his first pay-per-view defense, which is good. He was fairly dominant throughout the match. He looked very good during the match. So yeah, I think there's all positives coming out of this match, in my opinion. And finally, in the main event, we had Giulia successfully defend against Roxanne, Perez, Cora, Jade, and Bayley in a fatal 4-way match. And yeah, the match was paced really well. For me, it was the match of the night. I thought it was really good. It was action-packed throughout. All of them kind of got an even amount of offense in against all of each other. I feel like the only gripe I really have is that Giulia did take a fair bit of the match out, which tends to kind of be the case when the winner is going to be that person. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I always notice that in multi-person matches where if one person kind of sits out for a while, they tend to be the person that wins the match. Also, it's a case of I didn't think Giulia was actually going to lose here. I had some friends that predicted Cora Jade, and me and other buddies of mine kind of laughed at them a lot. So I'm kind of glad that that wasn't the case. Well, yeah, I liked the on and off friendship of Cora and Roxanne throughout the match. And yeah, the fact that they weren't afraid to get physical with each other as well kind of showed the opposite of Theory and Waller for the previous match. And yeah, it kind of worked really well within the match because they could help each other when needed and then turn on each other almost immediately when they had the advantage. All the transitions were really smooth, like with everyone other than Bayley and Giulia, which I found very peculiar. They kind of seemed to stumble and get very slow and kind of not have that good communication, whereas like the other pairings you could have had worked really well. So that was really weird. But yeah, and again, makes sense for me that Roxanne Perez will take the pin here. When I do predictions for the Uncut on the Wrestling For You channel, I picked Bayley to get the win, and yeah, we all should have thought logically, if Roxanne's going up to the main roster, of course she was going to take the pin here. But yeah, I think it makes perfect sense as she's going up to the main roster. Literally has a match tomorrow on Raw against Raquel Rodriguez. So yeah, I mean, as I said, this match was really good, very much the case. And yeah, after the match, we had a nice moment between Stephanie Vaquer and Giulia holding the Women's North American title and the NXT Women's Championship. And that was interrupted by the, not even debuting, it's like a returning Jordan Grace, but like it's a return that is also kind of a debut because she's now officially NXT. And yeah, I assume this will have stand and deliver implications. What they will be, I have no idea. But yeah, a very good moment, sweet way to finish the pay-per-view. And just to have three of probably some of the top women in the industry standing all together in NXT premium live event is really cool. And yeah, there is no doubting that NXT has the best women's division right now. Better than Raw, better than SmackDown, better than AEW, better than TNA. They have a stacked roster that is full of talent, and I can't wait to see how this all transpires over the next few years. So those are my thoughts and opinions on NXT Vengeance Day 2025. Do put down in the comments below what you thought of the show. And yeah, what was your match of the night? What do you think what do you think Jordan Grace is going to do coming in the next future? What do you think this new group's going to do? Yeah, a lot of exciting things coming out of Vengeance Day. And yeah, a lot of exciting things coming up on the channel as well. Obviously, I've started my profiles series going really well. So thank you everyone for watching those. I think there's episode, I believe, 10 coming up soon, or 11. I can't remember, which is really bad because I make the videos. But you know what I mean. That'll be coming out tomorrow, most likely. And yeah, a lot of big ones coming up as well. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, all coming up on the channel for these profiles. So yeah, do stick around for them. And yeah, some Elimination Chamber content as well. My favourite Elimination Chamber matches, as well as coverage of that. Coverage of AEW Revolution. And of course, WrestleMania coming up. There's a lot of stuff coming up to do with that as well. Yeah, lots of stuff coming up on the channel. So yeah, do stick around for all that stuff. There's the giveaway on Twitter. It's linked down below in the description. My Twitter, and I think the link to the post as well, where you can enter a competition to win a copy of WWE 2K25 in, I think it's next month, under a month's time now. So yeah, do go into that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. And yeah, I'll see you later.